Hey there, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good week so far, and got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, there was quite a bit of severe weather across parts of Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, into Iowa, and even Indiana today. Fortunately, I believe a couple of people lost their lives earlier today. A large tornado in Ottawa, Illinois, so keep your thoughts with the folks out there. Just an awful situation. Also, a bunch of cars and trucks got toppled over along I-55 in southern Missouri, near I think it's Perryville, Missouri. And of course, nighttime tornadoes and severe thunderstorms are just our worst nightmare. Just never good to see, and I really hope everyone has a plan in place and is taking the proper precautions and taking these warnings seriously. Also, just a shout out to meteorologists, at TV stations, National Weather Service, just for doing a phenomenal job at warning the public. And again, hope everyone's taking these warnings seriously, because this is just just a rough night ahead, especially across parts of the Midwest, with these storms rolling across that area. All right, current radar picture. As you can see, this long line, or what we call a quasi-linear convective system, pushing across parts of Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois, even in Indiana. Looks more like a damaging wind threat across much of Illinois at this point. Start to see these bow echoes, so that's more of a damaging wind threat. But look at these discrete storms in southeastern Kansas and in western Missouri. Really just tapping into uncontaminated air. There wasn't a lot of convection earlier today in these areas, so these storms are really just taking advantage of the fuel, those upper 50 to low 60 dew points, and tremendous, heard that word a lot lately, tremendous low-level shear profiles. So a lot of deep layer vertical wind shear, and there's also a lot of that too. But yeah, these discrete storms certainly pose a tornado threat into the overnight hours, which is really just never good to see. Also some discrete storms across southeastern Missouri and Illinois and southern Indiana. I believe this little one right here, not so little actually, crossing over in Indiana. Looks like it had a pretty nasty velocity couplet signature on it about 45 minutes ago, but that's just still plowing along. Supercells are just great at maintaining themselves because they're rotating, and anyways, I'm not going to go off that, but supercells sustain themselves even in capped environments, simply because they're rotating, and that induces a mid-level pressure perturbation, and that just keeps drawing in air from below, and they just keep propagating and rotating. But anyways, that's for another night. This is the 3Z Springfield, Missouri sounding. This is 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, so 9 p.m. local time in Springfield. So about an hour and a half ago. But as you can see, we've maintained those steep mid-level lapse rates, kind of what we call an elevated mixed layer. I talked about talked about those in one of my previous videos. But yeah, 8 degrees C per kilometer, 700 to 500 millibar lapse rates. So that's that's steep, so that will certainly contribute to a large hail threat, as well as just the buoyancy that we see here, that dashed line. Also what we refer to as CAPE, or convective available potential energy, and just a crazy wind profile. You can see that clockwise turning photograph in the lowest 1 kilometer of the atmosphere. So we should see dominant right moving supercells, and just a long photograph, and that's more just a reflection of the deep layer vertical wind shear. So we have 0 to 8 kilometer vertical wind shear is 97 knots. So that's just, pretty just amazing. And yeah, of course I'm starting to see that low level jet kick in as we decouple the boundary layer from the free atmosphere. And so yeah, we have 40 knots at 850 out of the southwest. So of course, that low-level jet contributes to your low-level vertical wind shear, as well as moisture advection, and also a source for lift, especially in the nose of the low-level jet, and just a lot of bad ingredients coming together at a bad time of the day, which is in the middle of the night. So, not really what you want to see. Nighttime tornadoes are just awful. Just to give you an idea of how much moisture we've seen move into the area and how fast we've seen these moisture return across parts of the Midwest. This is 24-hour change in equivalent potential temperature, theta E. Values increased over the last 24 hours across parts of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee as much as 30 Kelvin, which is just ridiculous. So theta E is just what we're doing here is we're lifting an air parcel, it's just an arbitrary blob of air up to its level of free convection. And of course, air at that point will rise moist adiabatically, considering it's saturated. So when air is saturated, it will release latent heat, which warms the surrounding air. So we're going to lift that air parcel up until the moist adiabats are parallel to the dry adiabats. So we're condensing out moisture from our air parcel, which is releasing latent heat into the surrounding atmosphere, which is a warming process. And then once we are parallel to the dry adiabats, we are lowering our air parcel down to the surface, not down to the surface, down to 1,000 millibars dry adiabatically. So we're also lowering the air and compressing it without adding any additional energy into it. And so we're warming it through two ways. So higher theta E corresponds to higher moisture content in the air and also a higher temperature. So just a warm, muggy air mass, which is also our warm sector, which you can see in surface observations here. Still in the mid-60s across much of Illinois, upper 50 to low 60 dew points across Illinois, and that southerly wind getting to be gusty now, so that's probably some of those thunderstorms mixing down, maybe part of that low-level jet that I just went over. So yeah, gusting to 30 knots, looks like Springfield, Illinois, so just a gusty, stormy, ugly night across parts of the Midwest. And yeah, there's that little jet that I talked about, so 50, 55 knots, 55 knot winds out of the southwest to 850 millibars, and just a nasty situation unfolding there. Already talked about storm relative felicity. Actually, did I talk about it? No, but anyways, so yeah, 325 meters squared per second squared storm relative felicity on our 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity on the 3Z Springfield sounding. So storm relative felicity is vorticity that is streamwise, so it's when the vorticity vector points in the same direction as the storm relative winds. And that vorticity can be easily tilted and stretched. Studies have shown that higher values of 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity, usually there's a correlation between tornado potential, but of course there are other factors that matter. But anyways, side note, this is just from the SPC mesoscale analysis, just off the charts storm relative felicity across Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, just, some parts in the order of 600 meters squared per second squared. So that's just, parameters here are just ridiculous, especially for an event this far north in late February. All right, we're going to shift over to Colorado weather now. This is just water vapor imagery, and you can see kind of a shortwave trough that brought us a few snow showers, actually a few convective snow showers to Denver and the Eastern Plains today. It's kind of lifting off, and there's this ridge with a broad fetch of southwesterly moisture, southwesterly flow along the periphery of it, and of course we know ridging, we can relate that to warm air advection. So as we see in our warm sector, just copious amounts of warm air advection and moisture advection as well. But ridging will start to build in across parts of the west, and that will warm us up here in eastern Colorado and here in Denver. This is just kind of what we saw here today in Denver, and this is our hit a high temperature of 1.7 degrees Celsius. That's 35 degrees Fahrenheit at DIA today. That's 15 degrees below our average high temperature of this day of 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're finally starting to see our average highs creep up there into the low 50s. It is March 1st tomorrow, so the first day of climatological spring. Astronomical spring, that's, I believe, around the 21st or 22nd this year, as it usually is. I don't know why I said that, but anyways, side note, current temperatures east of the Front Range, kind of a chilly night, actually. Actually, around our average low for this time of year, so we're running pretty chilly. As we saw today, we were also pretty chilly today, so it makes sense, especially with the clearing skies and whatever snow cover is on the ground. Generally winds out of the west, temperatures in the mid to lower 20s, at least 22 degrees at DIA, and a little bit warmer closer to the foothills where we're seeing some downsloping, 30 degrees in Boulder at this time. And actually saw some blowing snow in Parker, where we saw just enough snow to coat the grass. But I believe the Eastern Plains actually did see quite a bit of snow, maybe around Fort Morgan or Akron, but I'd have to double check on that. Sounding in Denver, kind of just a boring sounding. We were fairly moist. That's why we saw a lot of clouds today. It was kind of a overcast day. Even some steeper mid-level lapse rates, 7.5 degree per kilometer, 500 millibar to 700 millibar lapse rates. So that might have helped us see some of those convective snow showers later this afternoon. I know I certainly saw one. I got all excited because snow and convection are like my two favorite things, and to see them at once is just awesome. Also some weak, shallow upslope, east-northeasterly wind at 10 knots at the surface here. So yeah, and of course I was aided by that little shortwave that kicked off toward north, but really not too much going on here in Denver, and that will be the trend through the weekend. So this is the analysis hour from the 12Z. It's a sign that it's almost my bedtime. 0Z GFS. So this is the analysis hour, and these are 500 millibar achieve potential height and anomalies. So you can see that little wave scoop by to our north, and then we start to see that northwesterly winds. Those northwesterly winds at 500 millibars. So just kind of a dry, downsloping pattern for us throughout the next couple of days. We'll still be kind of below average into tomorrow, especially as this trough is still kind of starting to scoot out of there, but not quite. Especially with areas that saw some snow today, with the snow covering the ground. That does limit temperatures, high temperatures. But just to look down, these are 2-meter temperature anomalies from the 0Z GFS. Yeah, just remaining, 10 degrees below average into tomorrow. Let's see. Yeah, roughly 5-10 degrees below average, so maybe 40-45 degrees in Denver tomorrow. Of course, mountain wave, that could impact our temperatures when we see the winds out of the northwest. I don't think that'll be an issue as far south as we are, maybe further north near Fort Collins, but I don't know. I'm not going to get into too many details. Anyway, it's going to be dry tomorrow and seasonably chilly, I'll put it that way. Then we start to see the ridge build in across parts of the west, and flow becomes more zonal and out of the west, and that usually brings us warmer temperatures. And as a result, just to show you that, they do become warmer. So, see, by Saturday we could be talking about temperatures, high temperatures. This is actually Friday evening. 5-10 degrees below or above our average high of 50 degrees. So maybe upper 50s, low 60s by Friday. And then we start to really warm up into the weekend. Could be pushing even 70 degrees, it looks like, by Saturday or Sunday across parts of the Eastern Plains and into Denver. One quick note, just looks like another little wave kind of kicks by to our north, but doesn't really dig far south enough to bring us anything significant here in Denver, maybe just a brief cool down, but just dry and pleasantly, seasonably mild for this time of year. Again, I said it, seasonably mild for this time of year. It's just redundant. Anyways, that's probably my cue that I should go to bed. I'll try and do one of these next week, maybe this weekend, but yeah, I hope everyone's staying safe tonight across the Midwest. It's going to be a long night, and yeah, I'll do one of these again soon. All right, thanks.